Hello, and welcome back to the American Scouser podcast. We are here to bring you some sad news. Obviously, since the last time we spoke, you've listened to us. We've played the Champions League game. It's Wednesday, December 2nd. We're recording this evening. But the news that Papa Bouba Diop died on the 29th. In France at the age of 42. Obviously, Sadio Mane wore the shirt, and there's a quote from Sadio I have here. It says, "It's with a wounded heart that we've heard of your passing. Know that you will remain forever in our hearts, even though you left without saying goodbye. R.I.P." Which terribly sad news to begin the podcast with. But there you have it, folks. So we have Paul and Parker joining us. Paul, how are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Thank you.
Parker, how's it going, mate?
Not too bad. Thanks for asking.
So yeah, as I just mentioned about the Sadio Mane shirt and the unfortunate passing of Papa Bouba Diop, we're going to be talking about the Champions League. And moving on later, we'll probably talk a little about the Premier League. But the Champions League game, lads, Ajax. Wow, what a outfit they are. I guess the first question is, 15 minutes in, did you think it was going to be a 1-0 game? Paul, let's go to you.
Yeah, absolutely not. But I mean, that's the fun thing about Ajax, right? They at least come and they play. They open it up. They don't sit down there with a low block defense and make you drag it out of them, which is kind of fun. So you knew it was going to be somewhat open. Even the first game was open, even though the first game we played them was 1-0 with an own goal, right? I mean, it was still pretty open. So I mean, you know, they've got a bunch of they just restock the pantry and they just reload with young talent from their academy. No matter how many players they sell. So, it was a good game. It was a good open game.
Yeah, Parker, are they the Dutch Liverpool or Liverpool the Scouse Dutch pretenders? I mean, it was kind of like it was interesting watching them play it out from the back, and obviously they caused some mistakes, but they played well. Like they looked really attacking as a threat, playing it out from the back, and when it worked, it worked. What's your thoughts on the sexy Dutch football?
You know, I'm always a big fan of watching Ajax. I think that they're, just as someone who's neutral to Dutch football, they're just a fun team to watch. You know, it's kind of like watching Bayern, where you know it's going to be exciting. You know that they're going to put on a good show for you. So I always think it's a good time watching them. But the issue is when you're playing them is they're always a wild card. Kind of like how Paul was saying before, you know, they do sell a lot of players. They do feed a lot of players through to bigger clubs. But because of that, you know, it's tougher to scout out, okay, here, this person, they're going to be the wild cards. They're going to be the ones that are the big threats. So I think that's part of it. And I think part of it is that I don't want to necessarily say they're hot and cold. I think there's more hot and warm, where sometimes it's like pretty decent football you're watching with them, and then sometimes it's just an absolute war, kind of like how it was on yesterday.
I mean, we definitely had our chances. We'll delve into the intricacies of the game itself. Like, I mean, like I was saying with the first question to you there, Paul, like after 15 minutes, it was an open game, you know, like you said, they came to play. But, I mean, we definitely could have scored more as the game grew on. Like Salah had a couple of chances that I can remember. Firmino, when he came on, he had a nice opportunity, just put it 2 yards to the, not far enough. But let's talk about the goal, Paul. What do you think is in Onana's head when that ball is reaching for him? Because he kind of has a go at it and then stops.
Yeah, he did a little Simon Mignolet, didn't he?
Yeah.
He came at it and waved at it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. If you look at that thing had a ton of bend on it. Like if you look at Nico cutting it back onto his left and just drilling it across face, it's had a lot of bend on it. So I don't know. I almost part of it is I think it was a combination of the amount of pace that Nico had on it and the fact that I don't think Onana really was expecting that cross from there at that point. I kind of I have to look back at it, but I wonder if he was a little bit impeded, like he couldn't see it all the way until it was already on its way. That's kind of what it looked like to me, just because there's a lot of bodies stacked in front of him. But I mean, that's part and parcel of being a goalkeeper, right? I mean, making those in-flight adjustments. And he's not the tallest. I mean, he's super quick. He's got good positioning and awesome reflexes, but he's not the biggest keeper.
Yeah, I mean, Parker, obviously, we can talk about it. Like, because what's your take on it? Like, does he just think it's going past him? Does he think Curtis Jones isn't there? Because even Jordan Henderson was talking about it. And Jordan Henderson said something like, as Nico hit the ball, I give him some stick, which I've tried to research it and I've tried to listen in. Because you know the way Henderson always, literally, he chases every ball with his words. Like he's a leader on that pitch. Like,
Yeah.
and without the fans, you can hear him, right? But he said something to Nico because, like Paul was saying, there was a lot of whip on that ball, and it looks like he's overhit it. Even Henderson said himself. He said, "I thought he hit it. I thought he overhit it. So I might have given him a bit of stick when he first hit it, but it was a fantastic ball in the end." Now, that's the skipper. So if you're the goalkeeper, God only knows how Curtis Jones got in there and such a deft finish. But what happened there?
I mean, I think it was just a lot of it being just unpredictable ball movement. I think this is kind of one of those questions that the answer you're going to get is going to depend on who you ask. Because I would look at it if I were the keeper that, okay, I did something wrong. I mispredicted. I was in a wrong position, something that I would say, this is on me. And that's just kind of my personality type with sports where, if something goes past me, that's something I did. That's something I fell short of. That said, I mean, the biggest contributing factor, I think, was just that Curtis was there. He was there at the right time in the right spot. I don't want to call it luck or anything like that because it wasn't. It's talent, it's positioning, it's communication, it's being able to work together as one clear, concise unit. But, it's just a lot of moving pieces that came in together to kind of click, so to speak, at the right time.
Yeah, just a great finish overall. Great ball, great finish. And the keeper puts his hands around his head as soon as the ball goes over him because he knows Curtis is finishing that. But what a deft touch just to put it in between the sticks at such an acute angle. But yeah, I don't know if you can really blame the keeper. The fact that Curtis gambles and goes back there anyway shows that he thought that he was going to get on it anyway, not the keeper. So.
I mean, that level of confidence, too, I mean, that'll carry you a hell of a long way in general in life.
Yeah.
Let alone as an athlete that's, 19 and some change?
Yeah.
Having that level of confidence playing in a Champions League match against, not some scrub team. It's against a proper, talented team. That's going to carry him a long way in his career. So
that's his 6th professional goal at senior level for Liverpool now. As he's the 3rd youngest Champions League goal scorer. You might be able to know off the top of your head one of them, but if you can name me both of them now, you get extra brownie points.
I just saw it on Reddit too the other day.
I know, right?
Trent, I know, is the youngest one we have ever had.
Yeah, Trent's in there.
Oh, come on.
You know what? I'll let you cheat. Go ahead. I'll give you to the end of the podcast and we'll come back. Or do you just want me to ruin it for you right now?
You can go ahead and ruin it.
David and Gog.
That's who it was.
So yeah. But it's
I knew
also
it was like a lesser known.
Yeah. So it's the first time in Champions League history that two teenagers have created and finished a goal. So yet another record we're breaking here, folks. The wonderful, magnificent Liverpool Football Club. But yeah, we could talk about Nico and Curtis, but we got to mention Caoimhín Kelleher. Champions League debut, clean sheet. What more can you ask? The kid is a legend in Ireland now. It's good to see an Irishman on the lineup for a change. Paul, what's your thoughts on the young kid and his confidence levels?
I mean, I gotta know, is he copying your hairstyle or are you copying his? Because I was like, before I even tried to pronounce his first name, I knew he was Irish by looking at his haircut.
Oh yeah, well, the Irish have this beautiful, wispy, windswept look. No matter where you go, your hair is not paying attention to what is supposed to be happening in the rest of life.
Plus the red hair.
Yeah.
Just bonus Irish points there.
Yeah. I don't even know what the original question was anymore. I'm so distracted.
How good do you think he is? I mean,
I think he's. Yeah, I
know?
think he's really good, and I think we've rated him for quite a while. I mean, he's been involved in a lot of preseason stuff for a number of years now.
Right. People seem to be under the illusion though that he's a brand new keeper. It's his Champions League debut. Blah blah blah. We just signed that 17-year-old Brazilian kid.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of going on behind the scenes, but Caoimhín Kelleher's been there for years, like you said.
Right. And I think I think that's a good point. I mean, I think a lot of people see new players come to the scene and they just assume like, oh, these new players just pop up. Like there's a ton of due diligence from the time that we scout kids going through the academy, the new transfers, all that. He's been around for a while. I think we've rated him for a while. I think, he obviously had a phenomenal game. I want to pump the brakes a little bit on him because I think there's like a tendency for us to have a gut shot overreaction when a player has a phenomenal debut. I mean, Benjamin Woodburn's the first one to come to mind.
Oh yeah.
Like
that one
Nico.
hurt.
Yeah, I mean, and I still think he's been hampered by some pretty serious injuries. I still think he has potential, but like it's just an example of like, Nico looked really good his first outing. I think you gotta take the sort of the sample size and be realistic with it, especially with the young guys. But what I will say is I was impressed by the mentality, like in terms of like how calm he was in the bright lights on the big stage, like in terms of his demeanor in not only just the way he played, but his communication with the back line was really solid for a kid going out there. And then the obvious, most glaring thing is that he can play the ball with his feet. He's really good with his distribution on the back. I mean, I know that he was classically, trained up front as a striker. So, I mean, he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet, which is obviously very important. I think when we see Adrian, obviously, there's not only is it not a smooth, but there's a bit of panic when there's a heavy touch back to him.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing that we had with Mignolet and even Karius to some extent. Some of these keepers who are excellent shot stoppers aren't always the best in distribution out the back. And I think at the end of the day, I think that's the way Klopp wants to play. Is he wants the ability for a goalkeeper to be able to drop dimes from 40 yards up the pitch on a long ball, but also be able to distribute very easily out of the back. And I think that he definitely brings that.
Yeah. Paul, you might not have got David and Gog, but you get full brownie points there for that answer because you've essentially shot every one of my bullet points with a silver bullet right there. What you may not have known is, did you know that he conceded 7 goals on Saturday?
I did know that.
You did?
But I missed it because I wanted somebody else to talk besides me, and I figured you guys probably wanted that too.
You're very
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I did read that. It really hadn't clicked with me. I'd seen that the academy got like smoked by City, but it hadn't really clicked with me that he had been in that game until after the Champions League match. I was reading something about it. So yeah, that's pretty incredible.
The bullet points that you shot were the fact that Klopp actually said, I've got the quote somewhere, I've lost it, but he said something along the lines of, that's precisely why he picked him. He picked Kelleher because he said, we wanted the football from the back. We knew we were going to need that type of style tonight. So you're absolutely right. But just a couple of quotes from the kid himself. Keeving, or how it's pronounced in Cork would be Quiving. But I'm just working hard every day in training, preparing myself. I've always thinking if a chance does come, I'll have to be ready for it. So that's why I work every day, and thankfully all that work did pay off. That's all I can do. When I get my opportunity, I just need to take it. I think I've done well, so hopefully I can push on and get another opportunity to just take it again. Parker, that's precisely what you want to hear. Like that's a carbon cutout of precisely what we needed to hear from young, 22 professional, first Champions League, first clean sheet. What do you think?
I mean, again, kind of going back to that point I made earlier about the confidence, that's huge. I think I was trying to look it up. I think Kelleher got subbed in when they played in Ann Arbor, Michigan, when I was able to watch Liverpool play Man U here. I'm 99% sure. I know he didn't start, but I think he got put in at half.
Yeah.
And like that time, the crowd attendance was like 101,000 some change.
Wow.
Picture that today. The fact that he was able to play with confidence in that shows a lot to his composition and how well he can just keep calm when the pressure is there. So that's why I think he'd be perfectly fine. I wasn't that worried when I saw he was starting. Because I think that he needs opportunities to shine. And I think given those opportunities, he will be able to at least produce at a competent level at the very bare minimum.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't step foot wrong, did he? Like he made
no,
a great save on 90 minutes.
There's that one
to keep us in.
There's that one point blank save that was
excuse me,
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Sorry, I've got frog in my throat.
You're fine.
But you're absolutely right. The Huntelaar, was it Klaas Huntelaar?
Yes.
80th minute or something like that, like keeps
something
us right
like
in
that.
the game. So yeah, that's brilliant. But the teenagers, the youth alone weren't there. The stars alone, like Genie was his imperious best. Robbo looks like he got injured halfway through, was uncomfortable for 5 minutes, bandaged it up, and it was like a Monty Python sketch. Like, the one where he loses both arms. He's like, no, it's just a scratch. Carries on and plays brilliant. Like, he's just fantastic, isn't he, Paul?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I want to go back really quick to Kelleher because I think one of the things that I really, when we looked at that match, like we can say what we want to say about his play, right? But one of the things that I really enjoyed after the game was just the genuine sort of the genuine joy he had. Like he was just really like enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't this like he wasn't like, I don't know, man. It was just really pure. You don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah.
With debuts. I mean, a lot of times they like shake hands and they run off and they get in the dressing room and they're gone. But like he genuinely like wanted to stay out on the pitch for a minute and just soak it in. Like to me that was like as enjoyable for me as like the actual performance itself.
Absolutely.
Sorry to completely digress.
You're absolutely right.
That was kind of getting to my next point actually. Watching his post-match interview. And two things I noticed about that. The first thing was at the very end when they asked him about, people back in Cork, he his accent goes from, regular, a little bit of an Irish tang to it to full-on Cork accent.
Yeah.
Just like that. And that was really funny to watch.
The Cork accent, for those who might not know, is very lyrical. It's a very lyrical accent comparatively. Even in Ireland, it's more lyrical than any other Irish dialect. It's very It's weird. It sounds like drunken French. It really does.
Is it compared to the Welsh?
Oh god, the
It
Welsh
kind of
accent is
does,
something
yeah.
different.
It kind of does, yeah. It's very lilty. The Welsh accent's got a lovely lilt to it, and so does the
Yeah,
Cork accent.
that's
Yeah,
fair.
man, I was good over there. Like I spent a year studying in school over there, and I was good until I met like when I went up to Wales. I was like, what the hell? What is even happening? Like,
You'd
Reading
have a
street signs there was just
yeah,
like, all right.
Cork, and the Cork people talk very fast, so they could be saying a whole sentence at you, and all really they're saying to you is, how's it going? How you doing? You know.
These
But
my Irish friends are just from Belfast, so it's a nice, clear
yeah. Belfast is
accent.
only up the road from me.
Oh, nice.
But yeah,
But
I'm
anyway,
sure
back
all the
on
people.
topic.
Yeah, I'm sure all the people back in Cork are loving it because like I remember watching a video a while back where he was going back to his home GAA Gaelic Irish football team. Like so, for those who don't know about that sport, is they play with the same football style, but it's in your hands, and you can like pick the ball up and things like that. But so it's
That's
very
the
hand
one
to
that's
eye.
like the it's kind of like a soccer goal with a football field goal post on top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a point for over the bar, and you get 3 points for a goal. But it's a good sport. Hand to eye contact, which is probably where he started honing in his skills to be a first class goalkeeper. Which, like Paul said, we could pump the brakes a little. But I've watched plenty of videos of him. Like he looks good with his hands, he looks good with his feet. So only time will tell. He's 22, but and getting a clap hug 90th minute, like that just goes to show. Um, so like we could go through the list. Like everybody had a pretty decent game. Up front, misfired quite a bit, but midfield was fantastic. Backline was fantastic. Goalkeeper fantastic. Who's your man of the match? Parker, let's go to you.
I'd have to say Kelleher because it's
No pressure, no pressure.
no, but like a 1-0 victory isn't easy to come by, defensively speaking. Because as soon as you make one slip up, you make one mistake, that's a draw immediately. You just lost 2 points.
Yeah.
So I think as the fact that the keeper is the absolute last line of defense and arguably the leader of the defense of that back four, I'd have to give to him.
Paul?
yeah, I'll probably be in the minority here. I'll actually go with Curtis, and I'll tell you why. Because the opposite of that is, you got to score to win. A 0-0 is a game is a draw. And for me, in a game when our front three was misfiring largely, we had loads of like wasted opportunity. I just felt like everybody's first touch was a little heavy on the night. Jones comes in, smacks one off the post in the first 20 minutes, which is an incredible strike on its own. And then, is in the pop up for the second half goal. And I think his performance is trending up. I mean, versus Brighton, he was really solid. And the game before that, he was really good. And he's playing amongst some of the best starting 11 players in the entire world in shining right now, which is something to be said for a teenager.
Yeah. And he's fantastic. Like he's living his dream, but I can't fault either of those because look, they're two kids and they've just come onto the big stage and provided. So lads, this is Klopp's fourth consecutive campaign in the Champions League, and we
Is that just for us, or is that including
for us?
Okay.
Fourth consecutive. But what's different about this one is we don't have to wait until the last day. We don't necessarily need to build up to the match that's 2 weeks away or whatever now it is. I don't know. I've seen the term "dead rubber," which is great being thrown around back home in the tabloids back home. So it's a non-game. We can field whoever. Well, we can't field whoever we want, but we could certainly rest a few players against Midtjylland, which is great. But yeah, fourth time's a charm, I guess. Paul, what do you think? The other three were we left it a bit late.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's ever a year where you're going to want to get it done early, this would probably be the year, considering the fact that we have 3 months of like a game every 3 days.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this graphic that was basically charting muscle injuries this year since we didn't have preseason and COVID and all that stuff. And we're averaging a muscle injury every 140 minutes right now, which is like,
my God,
absolutely insane to think about. Like, that's insane. Like, it makes me just want to take the 3-0 forfeit and wrap everybody in a blanket and leave them home. Like I mean, it's absolutely nuts, man. Like, it's incredible. So, yeah, if there's a year you want to get it done early, this will be the year.
What do you make of that, Parker? Muscle injuries every 140 minutes.
I'm gonna one up Paul your suggestion of wrapping players up in blankets. Just throw a couple fans on. Go down to Liverpool City Centre. Shout out who wants to play in red. First 11 people. Let's go.
You get mobbed.
It's the thing is, and my cousin, she works for our local NBA team. I was talking to her about this. That this season is already being so compressed and there's no good way about it. On the side of the operations side of it, it's a total nightmare. That's more her side of things. But just looking at it from the players' side of it, they had a very, very minimal break. They're back to back matches with training in between, traveling. It's
beyond a joke.
Only natural that injuries are going to happen. The human body isn't meant to be doing that. It needs periods of break. That's why your muscles send pain to your body when it needs time, when they need time to heal.
Yeah.
From a pure physiological standpoint, your body needs breaks as much as you don't want to admit it. And I've heard people saying like, oh, well, they're professional athletes, they should be able to handle it.
Or like, oh yeah, well, they're making $150K a week. They should. I'm like,
oh yeah, okay, let me repair my ACL with a couple dollar bills real quick.
Like their body gives a shit about what their bank account looks like.
Right. And it's like the thing is for me is like, I think that people that say that don't understand on how different of a level a professional athlete is above a normal person, physically speaking. I'll give it one example. I did this one charity golf tournament with former Detroit Tigers baseball players. Mm-hmm. And not the year that I played with my dad, but the year before my dad played with Al Kaline, which, if you guys don't know about baseball, absolute legend of the game from the 60s, I want to say. He passed away last year, and he was like late 80s, early 90s. So just to give you a time reference. So he was, mid 80s when we played golf with my dad, and he was out driving my dad, hitting it straight as an arrow as, an old man.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is just what I don't think people realize is that, athletes, genetically speaking, along with their training, they're just better than us.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of crappy to put it that bluntly, to say that, oh, well, they're genetically superior, but like genetics plays a massive role into athletic talent. I'm 5'6". I'm never playing in the NBA, period. No matter how hard I tried, no matter if I trained 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I ain't making it in the NBA.
Right.
So they don't realize that with that addition to strength, with that addition to height, size, speed, that still comes at a cost. Stuff still is going to break. whether you like it or not. And I just think people need to like wake up and realize that.
I mean, if we're talking about injuries now, we might as well do an injury update. I read something that Klopp was quoted as saying is that Virgil's knee doesn't look like a knee right now after his surgery, but he said, but it's not a normal knee anyway. Doesn't look what like a knee is supposed to look like or something like that. But he's box office as our manager. Like he comes up with the most ridiculous quotes. Like he's brilliant. But
There's something.
Trent will be back soon. He's
Yeah.
he's coming back. He's been training. And Keita is apparently on the verge again. So there's some good news as well. But we've got a 5-day break. 5 whole days
God
until our
bless.
next game. So who knows what is going to happen on the training pitch. Touch wood. Knock it
Yeah.
in hard. But yeah, I mean, the game itself, we've pretty much covered. The Champions League is, as seen in the news, due for an overhaul in 2024. They're trying to do what's called the Swiss model, which is turning it into a 32 to 36 club group game. And then you get 10 matches, 5 home, 5 away, and your points are then registered in a single league table. And the top 16 will go through. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's in order to do less games apparently, but you know, this is 2024 we're talking about, long time between here and there. I don't know if you guys read about it or want to say anything about the fixture congestion situation.
Yeah.
Obviously Klopp had his say a few weeks back. Let's hear what you guys have to say.
I mean, I've done Swiss brackets or Swiss pools, or whatever the proper term is for it before, for video game tournaments, which obviously different than football. But I felt like it was a little bit more of a hectic schedule to do than just a typical regular round robin tournament. Just because of the fact that like the balancing up the scheduling got really difficult and got more difficult. Yeah. Obviously, there's a difference between a bunch of 20s to 30s nerds and all of the big brain business type people that are in UEFA. However, I don't think it's going to alleviate any of the major issues that we have with fixture. What's the word I'm looking for?
Congestion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that works better on paper than in practice, I think. And really the only way that it's going to fix the congestion is cutting down the amount of teams.
Yeah, not increasing it.
Right. And it's like, yeah, that's going to make the smaller clubs unhappy. That's a very fair and valid point. However, there's no other way to fix the congestion. And even if it's just, temporary, hey, for the next 3 or 4 years, while we're getting done with all this COVID crap and recovering from it financially and stuff, we're just going to do it smaller.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Man, every time we have these conversations, I feel like the old guy out in the woods who's just like yelling at the tree. To me, it's like the fixture congestion issue. Like, Champions League really isn't the issue. I mean, you've got essentially 6 teams that play European football every year that have this problem. And the problem isn't necessarily the Champions League. It's in the balance of trying to juggle it with 2 other domestic cups. So, to me, you're only addressing one spoke in the wheel. The other issue, the one that obviously has been the most recent issue, is these teams are traveling on Sunday and Saturday, and for domestic stuff and internationally on Wednesday, Thursday, right? So I think that one of the major issues is that, like, there has to be some sort of coming together between the FA, FIFA, and the broadcasters and sorting out what is fair for these teams, because I think the congestion issue is really just amplified when a team that plays late turns around and plays early because they want a primetime slot. You know what I mean? Or they want them in that 12:30 spot for a Far East market. The whole thing for Champions, like, I personally am not in favor in making the Champions League smaller. And the reason is because I think some of the really, really cool stories that come in a tournament like this come from, a Ludogorets or like a small team from a small country coming through, like the Romanian league. Like, I mean, I want to see those stories, if I don't want to see like Real Madrid versus Barcelona every year. Like, I get it. That stuff pays from a broadcasting standpoint. But for me as a casual, neutral fan, that's not the most exciting matchup to me. Even if it's a less predictable matchup.
That's an excellent point.
What would you think then? Just while you're on that point,
so don't
get rid of some of the big leagues teams.
Don't change it because I'm an old dog that doesn't want its water dish moved. But I really think, I don't know if there's a fix, because it requires 3 separate parties with 3 separate interests coming in and doing a little thing where they have to meet in the middle. And nobody wants to ever do that. Nobody wants to
concede.
No, nobody ever wants to go ahead and meet in the middle on anything and cede over money. And I think that's the problem. Honestly, to me, and this really pains me to say because I know there's a lot of history and tradition behind it, which is really, really beautiful. We got to look at the domestic cups. I don't know how important those are to teams anymore. I really don't. They're important for the lower league teams in terms of income. That's super important. But it's a throwaway competition for the top 6 right now. And you know what I mean? Like, you can say all you want about the tradition, respecting the opposition, respecting the tradition of the cup, but like, that's just the reality of it, especially when you have a league that doesn't want to allow 5 subs, doesn't want to, these are things that you're asking.
The FA Cup draw was made the other day. So Maine is a town just outside of Liverpool, I believe. I fucked if I know. The keeper's a Scouser. And so the keeper was a Scouser, and at the end of the game, runs to the local co-op, to the shop, and gets the beers in.
I saw that.
After they won.
Amazing.
So guess who they drew? They drew Tottenham. They drew Spurs in the next round. So look what it means to them. Like, I totally get it.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that.
But who does it mean more to? It obviously means more to Maine than it does to Spurs.
And I wonder if it's just... I wonder if there's a way that you play the earliest rounds with the smaller teams in the summer or something like that, so that like the later rounds are happening earlier in the year. The problem is when all these things start accumulating and snowballing into December. That's when it just becomes a cluster. So, this is what I mean. There's like the whole idea of just addressing the Champions League, I think is laughable in terms of just like, it's like having a 3-legged chair. You're only addressing one part of a huge problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult situation. Like you said, you're never going to get those 3 to fucking concede. 4, you're never going to get all these other countries to concede. The Champions League and everything. They're never going to get it together. Like, if the FA and the broadcasters can't get it together to sort it out in the Prem, how are they going to do it all together,
And there's just so much fucking money flying around on this too.
Yeah.
It's a ludicrous, the amount of money that rides on Champions League and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because, that's where the most universal eyes are on. Not many people that are exclusively watch Bundesliga are going to watch the Premier League.
Yeah.
Right.
But a lot more Bundesliga people are going to watch the Champions League than watch the Premier League. So all those sponsors, they're going to be raking in a whole lot more money.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of why, A, it's never going to shrink.
Yeah.
B, no one's going to collaborate. And C, it's only going to grow and get worse. C, the World Cup.
Yeah. So, Marine are a team in Merseyside, so good luck to them against Spurs, obviously. We're all rooting for them. But moving to, obviously, as well, the news that Liverpool are again playing Villa in the FA Cup, which I hadn't planned on talking about the FA Cup results. But yeah, Villa again in the Cup. That should be fun. But the Premier League, lads, the last time we had the listeners, it was before Thanksgiving. Obviously, a belated happy Thanksgiving to everyone. How was your Thanksgiving, lads? And did you wake up for the Liverpool game?
So I did have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for asking. It was a good time. I did wake up for the Liverpool game. However, I wasn't able to watch it because I was sitting in a deer blind. So I was just going based off of when Twitter would refresh.
I texted it.
Because-
We texted updates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, look, VAR's a joke. 2 disallowed goals. Paul, you done the player ratings. What the hell? Just end it for us.
Yeah, but I rate the players, man. I don't rate VAR.
My
Thank God. Yeah, man. I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about VAR or the players? I mean,
VAR has to be spoken about because look, that weekend it was horrible, right? So it was our game, and then I don't know if you've seen the Villa game after that. It was the day after.
Yes. No, the Leeds game.
Well, Leeds, yeah. Well, Villa had one the day after as well. It was a terrible call in the Villa VAR. VAR of the weekend just again was terrible. But yeah, we're talking about VAR in our game.
Yeah, so in our game, I think is it Mark Halsey, the ex-Prem ref.
Yep.
I think he was like 15 years or something with Prem. I think he kind of nailed this thing. Like, and I know we've talking about it before, but like in this situation, all right, let me backtrack. So like for me, VAR was created with really two separate ideas. One is to lift the burden of the actual decision on some of the big moments of the games that are super, super fast-paced from the actual center ref. So to alleviate the burden off the ref and protect the ref. The second was to protect the integrity of the league and the results, right? So like when we look at all the stuff, when we look at all the things that are happening with VAR, has it done either of those? And in my opinion, it's made it worse for the refs. And in my opinion, it's sullied results. I mean, there are straight corrupted results from the beginning of the season with the Tottenham handball, which should have never been called. The United got the pen and went on, won the game. Yeah. The United pen that happened in injury time or after the game was over.
Yeah.
I mean, you and these are like that's from the beginning of the season all the way through. We have the offside call on Watkins, which was crazy. We had the Bamford one where they called it off on his finger pointing. Yeah. We're talking about decisions that are changing the course of the game based on errors where there's misinterpretations of the actual laws that VAR has implemented, or just straight up rules being broken and disregarded by the referees. Like, for instance, in our game versus Brighton, and my major problem with this is you have a referee that sees a play, doesn't call it. You have assistant referee who comes behind the referee, sees it, and doesn't call it. Yep. Now you have some dude in Stockley Park in a basement drinking diet sodas and phones in and tells the guy to go take a look. Now the problem to me is we don't hear that communication. We have no idea what's being said. Uh-huh. If you're watching cricket, if you're watching rugby, any of these other sports that have instituted this, the listener the actual viewer can hear the conversation, be educated about how they're coming to the conclusion.
Yeah,
we don't see any of that. We see him running over to the monitor. And in my opinion, when you have another referee that's off-site looking at something in slow motion, telling a ref to go take another look at it, in my opinion, you're indirectly putting pressure on that referee's initial decision to overturn it.
And you're not supposed to, by the law, apparently, you're not supposed to look at it in slow motion. The replays, you're not on VAR.
I mean, that's
just
just another
read that
thing.
the other day. So who knows?
Yeah, and that's just another thing. We don't hear what they're saying, and that's a problem. That's a serious problem. Like, to me, and Halsey kind of nails it. Like, Halsey says, like, in his opinion, these people at Stockley Park are telling the referees to change calls by essentially calling them to the monitor to have another look in some instances. In, like, clear and obviously means fuck all now. Because, I mean, we're slowing things down in freezing frames. In drawing these pixelated lines on offsides calls that are razor thin to determine things. Like, that's not how this was supposed to be. It takes the spirit of the game away because we're interrupting the flow of the game. We're, like, making decisions that cost teams points based on things that are, like, razor thin margins.
Yeah.
It's not protecting the referees, and it's not protecting results. And, like, to me, that's what this whole thing was designed to do. It's doing neither of those. Mm-hmm. It's muddying the waters. And, like, to me, I mean, I'm obviously not a glass half full guy, but to me, it, like, points towards opening the door for some very corrupt things to happen if they're not already happening.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a major problem for me because there's a real lack of transparency for anyone.
Yeah. And we're talking about a sport that's called the beautiful game. Like, it took so long for the idea of this to come through. And this was one of the major fears years ago. I remember the conversation a decade ago. I remember, like, this was always the fear. A, would it slow the game down? And B, would it ruin the integrity of the game? And look,
yeah, it's not poetry in motion after we look at this replay for a minute and a half.
Like, when Andy Robertson said in his interview, he's like, look, I see players, I see it not meaning as much. I know my mates, like, he's a football fan too. Like, he doesn't just play the game. He loves the game. That's the type of these people. Like, they're all about the game. And, like, they're fans as well. So if they're seeing it directly in their own eyes and playing it, and they see it from the refs themselves, like, I don't know, it's getting beyond the pale. It's really losing its charm on me, Parker.
Yeah,
I mean, Paul, like, go ahead. I mean, it's beyond the joke.
I was just gonna say it's not funny. I mean, when was the last time you really got to let one rip on a goal celebration? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it means, like, I see a goal now and I'm just like, I'm waiting, like. Yeah. And then by the time, like, it's the goal is upheld, that moment's passed anyway. So it's like, all right, cool. Like,
that's what gets me, Parker. Like, the goal celebration thing is, like, when you cut short that moment of joy and then bring it back and be like, no, it's not a goal, or no, it's a goal now. Now you can celebrate. Like, that's just how do you do that? You can't turn it on and off,
Yeah, I mean, I think, Paul, you raised a really good point about it, about implications. That if it goes to VAR, that second ref is implying to the first ref, hey, you screwed something up here. And I do think that has something to do with it. And there's something there, psychologically speaking. I don't know enough about human psychology to give you an actual answer beyond just my gut feeling.
Yeah.
But I think you raise a very good point that should be looked into more by people smarter than me. that option of second guessing, or that thought of second guessing, can make for misinformed decisions or rash decisions, even if you want to just put it more simply. I mean, yeah, VAR definitely showed its colors of not being great the past few weeks.
Yeah.
It needs work. I talked about before that in theory, there are ways that we could be making it better, and we're not. I didn't even realize, honestly, that there was a rule about not watching it back in slow-mo,
Yeah, I
which
just read
completely
that somewhere.
eliminates one of the ideas that I had for making VAR better.
Yeah.
But like another thing, a random thought that popped into my head. So I studied in film school, and we have these things called dollies. And essentially, think of it as a really, really nice skateboard on train tracks.
Yeah, it's
And
a
it's
really
how,
nice cart.
yeah, basically. It's for those of you guys that don't know, it's how in any movie you're watching, how when they have a shot where it like gets really close in on an actor or actress's face, and like the camera is actually moving, not zoom, that's a dolly shot. Um, so dollies are a thing. They have motorized ones. In theory, we should be able to have one that is programmed to go up and down the pitch following the ball. Follows the ball wherever the ball is going. And again, in theory, that should be able to eliminate any offsides calls, mistakes, rather, because that camera can be right there aligned with the ball or with the last defender, rather. Again, that might be a little bit of a goofy kind of idea, but their point is there are ways that we can make VAR less garbage,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason they just decide, nah.
I like the idea of that though. But the only problem I see with it is, imagine it's like one of those electronic hairs that you have at the racetrack, you know,
Right.
that zip along on a dolly, like you said. You know, it would eventually get in the player's way, or a ball would break it. So let's build a track for it above the stadium and have it zip
Well,
around there.
like
You
they even
know,
have the ones in American football matches that
yeah, on wires, and the same with
yeah,
rugby. They have them. They're like they can zip all around. They're brilliant.
and like in basketball it never gets in the way, and I think they have this a very similar system. So
I think one of the things is we're seeking perfection in an imperfect game,
yeah,
and like for me, it's like I like what the Dutch league's done. They've taken this razor thin line and they've made them 5 millimeter lines, so there's a margin of error. They're drawing the line from the foot of the last defender, a 5 millimeter line. If the lines touch, players onside. You know, it's a clear point of contact that they're drawing a line from. So like, there's not the ability to manipulate the frame by a different angle. And they're drawing the line consistently from the same part of the body. Like, to me, that's like as simple as it gets. Like, I don't understand why we're making things more complicated than they need to be in this quest for perfection. Like, the game's entertaining if goals are scored, right? I mean, we
Yep.
want to protect defenders and protect defense, but like it's kind of like baseball where the tie goes to the runner, right? I mean, like to me, it's like we don't like what are we doing? Like
Advantage always used to go to the forward. Always used to
right.
go to the
right.
forward.
That's how it
And
should be. I mean, the anybody who's played the game understands the difficulty it takes to time a run, the difficulty it takes to knock a pass into that alley, into that channel. Like, I mean, it just makes sense anyway. If we're going to slow this thing down and draw lines, let's have a margin of error and let's have a decent point of contact that we're consistently drawing that line from. Like, I like it really like frustrates and blows my mind because people are paid tons of money to make these decisions, and out of a room, these are the best ideas that came out. And I don't understand that because I'm not very smart, but I feel like I feel like I can make this easier and simpler in a way that people understand. It would improve the current system. And some dude that's almost 40 and fat in a house that looks like a serial killer's. I noticed this on Zoom today when I turned my Zoom on. I was like, I gotta hang some pictures up in here. But like, it shouldn't be me coming up with this shit. You know what I mean?
yeah, but you know that's the way of the world, man. The lunatics are running the asylum here,
Right.
and they're running away with this, and you know that was always a problem levied at or leveled at referees, that they don't know the game inside and out, and all these players now, or all these referees now in Stockley Park, which you know I just it's beginning to really grate on me. Like I almost don't recognize the same game anymore. Like it's mad. I'm beginning to sound like all those old men that I was when I was young. I was like, Pele, who, what? You know, like, and the ball was heavier back in my day, and when it got wet, it would kill you.
But I mean, we're back to the pitch side monitor, right? Like, if you call a referee over to the pitch side monitor to have another look, you should be calling him over there because it was a clear and obvious error on his part. Like, straight up. That's why you should call him over there. And I think some of the refs, I don't think everybody's on the same page. I think some of the refs think that. So when they go over to the monitor, they're like, oh, I must have missed it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, there is a real lack of transparency, and there's a real lack of all the referees understanding the ins and outs of what should be a fairly simple system with everybody being on the same page, and they're not. And I guess this is why none of the English refs are in the top elite for, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, but elaborate a little bit on this Dutch league, because the picture I seen was like a JPEG off a newspaper from the 1980s. Like,
yeah, that's the Dutch league. What do you want, Jamie? Come on.
So the 5 centimeters, right? So, and they draw the line from the same point on everybody's body, like what?
They're
like
using
your belly
the
button
foot
or what?
they're using the foot of the last defender, so his furthest part back.
Yep.
And they're taking that line. So they're taking that line and making it
a center line.
Yeah, they're making
and
that
growing
line
2.5 centimeters either way.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then they're taking the runner and doing the same thing. If those lines connect at any point, it's onside. Margin of error.
I heard this argument ages ago. Somebody phoned in on TalkSport, and I think he was or not TalkSport, fucking TalkSport, on BBC 606 or something, and he was which isn't much better, but it's better than TalkSport. Don't listen to fucking TalkSport.
They put it on
Jesus
XM
Christ.
radio, and as soon as that comes on,
do not listen to TalkSport, please. That was a slip of the tongue. I do not listen to fucking TalkSport. People don't phone in. Do not listen to
post.
that.
Just in.
Yeah, there's for those who don't know, don't listen to TalkSport. Don't read any of their articles. They're connected with the Sun and Liverpool. Fuck the Sun. So yeah. But yeah, I like that. That seems like a great way to go about it. That's a modern day solution to a problem that is happening currently. And like when the freaky deaky Dutch, man, you gotta love them. They play sexy football and they know how to fucking get VAR right. That is brilliant.
Yeah, I was just looking up.
They're big on tech over there. They're like really into apps and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like,
they're brilliant. They in place built a 3D printed bridge in place.
Yeah.
Amazing.
First country in the world to do that. Who would ever think of that shit?
It's a long way from wooden shoes, man.
I went to a Dutch college, and wooden shoes is a real thing. I didn't think it was actually real. I thought it was just like, oh, it's just a thing from the past. They don't do that. They probably think it's dumb. No, the Dutch people still really.
They're good for people. They're good for people like you and me, Parker, too, because their girls are still. Their girls are still really pretty, but they're not like 6 feet like the Nords and the Swedes. So like.
Oh, they were at my college.
Oh, good. Not for me, man.
The kids today, the jeans are fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. As soon as I saw a Van or Vander or Duh, I'd be like, yeah, how's it going? Staring up at them.
Brilliant. Well, lads, we've had plenty to talk about on this pod, so we went a wee bit long, and we haven't really touched on Wolves coming up, but obviously shout out to Raul Jimenez, who had a fractured skull last time out against David Luiz. So obviously wish him well, but I mean, at this stage, lads, what do you think? I mean, the Prem, 5 days rest. What are we going to do with ourselves?
Fans back.
Well, that's the big thing.
That's my big thing. I'm excited for.
2,000 fans.
The rest will do them good. Obviously, again, they're still going to be training.
Yeah.
However, that extra 5 days of rest, that time not spent traveling, it's going to do them good.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you can make the argument from an American point of view that traveling within England isn't that far. That's an argument you can make. Personally, I would say it's pretty fair, but I also used to have to commute an hour each way to work every day, so I have a little bit of a biased opinion on that.
Mhm.
That said, the time off from just being able to stay in Liverpool, just being able to stay Merseyside, not worry about big travel, none of that stuff, and no matches, that's going to be doing the guys a lot of good. I don't think it's enough of a break still. I think they could use a good week and a half, 2 weeks. However, it's better than, the 3 or 4 days that we've been getting.
Yeah.
So I count as a win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Genie's played like over the past 17 days, he's played like 9 games or something like that, Paul. I can't remember if that's right or not. Like, I can't
He's a
remember.
machine, man.
Right,
He
with
is a
all of his
machine.
Dutch games.
Yeah, I mean, Genie is immense. The sooner that contract gets sorted out, the better. But yeah, 5 days off. Like, Wolves coming up. Wolves are a good side despite missing Raul Jimenez. Like, what's your take, Paul? Do you think give us a score prediction?
Man, Wolves are not scoring goals like they have in the past couple seasons, but they are really good. I'll say 2-1 Liverpool. I think, I just don't think they're scoring goals like they did. They got to make a big adjustment now with Jimenez out. Podence is really dangerous. Neto is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Traore is probably going to start because he played well against us last time, and they're out one attacker. Or they'll go with this kid Silva, this Portuguese wonder kid Silva, who's apparently going to be the next big thing. So we'll see. But they're a good team. I say 2-1.
2-1's a good shout.
Yeah.
Parker, what do you get something different or 2-1?
I was thinking, well, he was talking. I was thinking, I think I'm going with 2-1. So
yeah,
Paul, you stole it from me, but yeah, 2-1. I think I agree with your point. Traore is definitely going to start. Man's absolutely gargantuan. So he's one of their best players. He's quick. He can shoot. He's good. He should be starting if they want to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it will be as usual. I'll go in with an overly in-depth blind shot. That way, if I'm right, I get to tout that I'm right, and if I'm wrong, it's just it's a blind shot in the dark. Traore is going to score first. And then we'll see Mo and Hendo.
Oh, really pushing out the blocks here for Hendo getting on the score sheet.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I like it. Well, if go on then. If you're being outlandish, I'll stick my neck on the line too. I'm going. Why not? Why not? 4-0, and Kelleher's getting a hat trick. No. Let's go. Let's go 4-0. Why not? Come on, just do it for a little early December present. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting times, the Christmas period, and this 5-day period that we have off in December is mad. It's like, I don't get it. But
yeah, what are we gonna do with ourselves?
I know 5 days is like we could have a training camp, you know. But lads, it's been a pleasure. I don't really know what else to say about the Wolves game. I think we're all set up and raring to go. 5 days off, been at Anfield, gonna be at Anfield again, and the Christmas period's coming up. We've got a few injuries coming back. It's not all doom and gloom. We're doing well.
We got bright future coming.
Yeah.
Plus,
absolutely.
Fans back in the cop will actually get to hear "You'll Never Walk Alone" song rather.
Well,
than
you're not supposed to be singing too much, and you're not supposed to be overly celebrating during goals. and you're
That
not
sounds
supposed to
like
be.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
You're not
That
supposed
sounds
to be going to the toilet all at halftime. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Go during the game?
all
Piss in
those
a
things
water
sound really
bottle.
enforceable. They
Yeah,
sound really,
that's
yeah.
Yep.
it's
I mean,
kind of like in ice hockey. You're not really supposed to fight.
That reminds me of like my son's second grade Zoom class. Like when they tell him to be quiet, it's like, yeah, okay,
Good luck
fuck
with
with
that
that.
one.
Yeah.
So yeah, the bullet points here says fans will be told to arrive at stadiums early. Social distancing must be observed. Fans will be advised against using toilet facilities at peak times, at halftime and at the end of the game. So, like what? During the game? No, I'm going to watch the game. Thank you. Supporters are being asked to avoid unnecessary movement and stay in their seats throughout the game, if possible. They should also maintain safe distances during goal celebrations. So
Yet none of that's gonna happen.
none of that will be happening. But they're going to be spread out over the Kop and the main stand, so you never know. They'll be further enough, far enough apart, but we'll still be able to hear them. Like you said, Parker, that's the great thing.
Yeah. How many people was it in total again?
2,000.
2,000. So that's I think the Anfield holds like 40K or something like that.
Yeah, it's mid 40s. Oh no, with the newsstand, it's got to be like 48. But yeah, so 2,000 is going to be there, and it was, obviously there's no away fans, there's no travel, so it's just the Liverpool fans, which is great. But yeah, like I don't know, anything else to add before we bid our farewells to the nation, Parker and Paul?
I don't have anything.
I'm about to
Paul?
go hang some pictures up so my place doesn't look like a serial killer lives here. Next time. Like I got on this and I put the thing on me and I was like wow, I should really do something with this place. People are gonna be concerned if this ever gets anywhere.
I have the recording. Ha 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 ha.
All right, I'm gonna go hang some pictures. I'll talk to you later, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there we have it, folks. As always, we are the American Scousers. We've conquered all you out. We're never going to stop. LA, etc., etc. Tune in, and cop out with us. If you're in need of any more fine materials to read, we've got articles from Paul and Parker and all the rest of the great guys behind the scenes on AmericanScouser.com. Follow us on Twitter and IG and all the rest of it. Until then, be good to yourselves and up the Reds.
Up the Reds.
Later, boys.
Later.